1. My lifestyle at the time was very high risk. This story means a lot to me as it restored my much-needed faith in humanity. To explain why this incident meant so much to me, I need to provide a bit of backstory. I lived in a really sketchy part of town. The particular building I lived in was a refurbished loft type, with a very ugly history. You could still see the damage in the concrete walls from all the gunfire it had taken at one point. Talking the pizza guy into delivery was always fun. No sir, it's not still a crime scene. Yes, real people live here. There was a local gas station within walking distance, your typical shady place, populated by shady people doing shady things. I had and still have a tendency to be somewhat chatty and polite when spoken to by strangers, especially if I frequent that store and I see them often. I wound up making friends with a man named Houston, who had a talent for obtaining recreational plant life. We would hang out and philosophize about life and the like. I always felt like he had a good soul. I was coming home from a bar I frequented one night. It was a Friday and that area was a popular night spot, so at closing time cabs would line up. I was quite drunk, but sober enough to know better than to drive. The cab driver was talkative, I was not. I just wanted to go home and watch the world spin. Almost immediately out of his mouth came some of the most lecherous and disgusting things I had ever heard. He would arch his neck around while driving, lick his lips, and say things like, "Oh baby, you're so pretty. You want me to lick that sweet pussy?" What are these guys thinking? Has any woman responded with, "Oh my god, finally, a greasy cabbie wants to suck on my tittle bits. My life's dream has come true." What? All joking aside, I was scared shitless. Not only does this man have me in a moving vehicle, but he knows where I live. I had no phone and just enough money for the ride home. I was terrified. "You want me to pull in so I lick you? Pretty drunk girl, you want my cock?" I, being the smartass I am, responded with, "No thank you, I'd like to go home and vomit." It was as if I hadn't said anything at all to the man. He kept turning around and reaching out to grab me as I swerved out of his reach. "Show me your boobies, I want to see your boobies." The situation escalated when he started to drive around aimlessly, pulling into darkened complexes and slowing down to try and grab me. I had to do something. So I did something I don't think he was expecting. I flirted with him, I leaned over the front seat, gave him my best drunken seductive face and said, "Do you want a party?" He stopped, looking blank for a moment before a huge grin widening across his face. "Oh baby, yes. Where we go to party? You want to party here?" He started to adjust himself, and I wanted to rip his penis off and feed it to him. "Suck on that, freak," I thought to myself before responding with, "No, not here, let's go get some beer and go to my place." He agreed, and I led him to my local gas station. "Pull in here, I'll go get some, what do you like?" I said sweetly. He said he didn't care. As soon as he parked, I grabbed my bag and got out. He sat there, waiting. My voice must have had an obvious tone of panic as I asked the lady behind the bulletproof glass, "Is Houston here?" She looked concerned and shouted for him. He came out from the back. I was so relieved, and in one hysterical breath I told him everything. The expression on Houston's face darkened, and he said to me very curtly, "You stay here." I walked to the window as he exited the store. He took 3 steps outside, whistled with his arms out on either side, and made a "come here" motion. Out of the darkness came 20 really scary guys from both sides. He pointed to the cab and said something I didn't quite make out. Whatever it was, they swarmed that cab and tried to flip it over. That cab tried to burn rubber peeling out of the parking lot. The men then looked back at the store window and Houston laughed, nodded, and they disappeared back into the darkness. It was surreal. My jaw was on the floor. Houston came back inside with a grin. I don't think he'll be back. I couldn't thank him enough. He was my hero at that point, hands down. It had started to rain, so he and his friend walked me home under a giant umbrella. There are no words to describe the restoration of my faith in humanity that night. Cliché as it sounds, there really is a light in the darkest of places, and kindness in the most unexpected of places. 2. Here's some background before I begin. I'm a female in my early 20s and go to college kind of far away from home. So when I am home, I spend every possible second with my dog. Over winter break on the last weekend before this semester started, I took my dog for a joyride and final walk for a while. It had been very snowy that week, but it had all melted and was a rather warm day. I took my dog to this beautiful park, which has a big stone fountain and tons of open grassy space when you walk in the gates. And behind the fountain are stairs leading up to a reservoir. There's a sidewalk circling the reservoir, which is fairly large but shouldn't take more than 15 minutes to finish a lap around it. The sidewalk around the reservoir is lined with trees, making it slightly shady and secluded. My dog is a 4-year-old rescue pit bull mix, and has been attacked by other dogs in the past. She is the sweetest dog on earth to people, but is understandably on edge around other dogs. So when I saw other dogs in the grassy fountain area when we arrived, I took her up the reservoir for her and my peace of mind. She is a very anxious dog, and I am a very anxious person, so I thought we both deserved a nice walk. But nothing is ever that easy. We see one other person, a 30-something-year-old man, sitting on a bench at the top of the stairs. My dog pulls to go towards him, but being alone up there, I preferred avoidance. My dog doesn't understand, obviously, that many people don't like pit bulls, and I would hate for someone to try and cause trouble. Our neighbors all love her, and we stop at almost every house so she can greet her fans, but with strangers, I just keep walking to be safe. This man went down the stairs, so me and my dog were alone now. After walking for maybe 2 minutes, my dog decided she needs to take a massive shit. I fished around for a poop bag and noticed she's drooling like a maniac. With my dog, that means one of 2 things. 1, she ate something she shouldn't have eaten, or 2, there's poop still stuck to her butt. I pried open her mouth, praying for option 1, but alas, her butt was covered in shit. I cleaned her as best I could with nothing but poop bags at hand, and her drool at that point was dripping everywhere and was looking a little bubbly. And no, she doesn't have rabies. It just looks like that when she's seriously stressed, I promise. I finished cleaning her up and decided to keep walking. I stood up and immediately heard a noise behind me, coming from the direction of the stairs. I expected to see the 30-some-year-old normal-looking guy, but was greeted by the sight of a mid-60-year-old man who was dirty-looking. He had snuck up on me somehow, out of nowhere, and was only a few feet away, approaching me slowly. My dog started to sniff him, and I politely said hello. He was a little startled by my dog. He said because she was a pit bull, and I replied that she's friendly. He asked me about her name, age, breed, the normal dog questions. I answered them nicely, but didn't add any unnecessary details, because he was giving me a weird vibe. As I'm typing this and recalling that day, I realize that he was looking more at me than at my dog, which is a little odd in my opinion, because 99% of the time if you approach a dog, you look at the dog and pet it. However, I don't think he even petted my dog at all. He just kept looking at me. He noticed my dog's drool and seemed hesitant to come closer, thank God, because he thought she had rabies. I told him she's fine, without being specific or reassuring, because my gut feeling was getting stronger and I wanted him to be a little scared and uncertain of her. I had been avoiding eye contact with the creeper, but he suddenly looked me dead in the eyes and asked very bluntly, "So how's your boyfriend doing?" Somehow, I held it together and kept a straight face. I could tell he wanted to catch me off guard, but due to my anxiety, I overanalyze every little thing and am rarely, if ever, off guard. As nonchalantly as I could, I replied, "Oh, he's doing pretty well." I tried to laugh a bit to make the guy feel weird for asking me this weirdly personal question, especially considering he didn't even know my name. He was clearly taken aback by my calm, composed and quick, but not too quick, response because he instantly got flustered and started stammering about. "Oh yeah, that's so nice, because I hate to see young people single, It's nice to have a partner. You know what I mean? But not a female partner. If you're a girl, girls should, be with nice gentlemen, So, not only was he a creep, but he's a homophobic creep. I nodded and gave a rather curt along with a small yet ice-cold smile. To show that I was unfazed even though I was internally shitting myself, Creepy Guy then decided to continue on with his losing battles, saying, "How is he?" pointing at my female dog, "around your boyfriend. Is he overprotective?" At this point he was prying, trying to find a flaw in my story and my composure. But I anticipated that and was prepared. Also, side note, when originally asking about my dog, I corrected him multiple times that my dog is a girl and not a boy, so clearly he wasn't listening and just wanted to use my dog as an excuse to talk to me. I gripped my dog's leash and gently pulled her back a bit, subtly reminding him of my dog, that he was more than a little afraid of. He looked down and saw her still drooling, and honestly, she did look rabid. But unbeknownst to him, she was still upset about her poop. After I pulled her towards me, I looked right at him and said with my iciest voice and bitchiest smile, "Oh yes, he's very overprotective over me. But he absolutely loves my boyfriend. So we're all good." I was hoping that by calling my dog a boy, he would respect her more. I don't really know. Creeper started stammering again, repeating a lot of what he said above, but thankfully it ended with, "Ah, you have a nice day now," to which I only replied thanks. I was not going to wish this weirdo a good day. I held my breath as he passed me to keep walking around the otherwise empty and secluded reservoir, and as soon as he was far enough away, where I didn't think he could catch up to me and my dog, again, he was 60 plus and I'm in my 20s, I didn't doubt my ability to outrun him if need be, and I bolted back to the car, checking behind my shoulder as I went. The scariest part to me is that my family only vaguely knew where I was. They didn't know exactly where that park is, having never been there, nor exactly how far it is from our house. So basically, if he would have grabbed me, it would have taken a while for them to find me. I hate to think what would have happened if I had been alone, or even if my dog hadn't looked rabid because of her massive shit. 3. I got married right at 18. I was a pretty book-smart kid, but lacked street smarts. By the time I turned 20, my now ex-husband and I moved into a rental property in a pretty nice suburb outside Chicago. In the basement of the house there was a big mother-in-law suite, where a good male friend of ours, Nick, lived as well. I was about halfway through nursing school at this time. This particular semester of nursing school, I had a very early clinical rotation once a week. I was 21 at the time. I am not a morning person, so in order to maximize the amount of time I spent asleep, I started loading all my stuff into my car the night before. Bags, books, and even my purse. Again, street smarts lacking. One particular night before clinicals, I asked my ex-husband Bobby to get a book from my car. Bobby does, but forgets to lock the door. The next morning when I get to my car, I note that my purse is gone. I ended up filing a police report. I was most concerned because I had just gotten this new job as a nurse's aide at a hospital, and I had my social security card sitting in my wallet. Strike 3 for street smarts. Almost immediately after the theft, strange things start to happen. We started getting ding-dong ditches all hours of the day and night. Someone vandalized mine, Nick's and Bob's cars with strange graffiti. Nazi swastikas, hangmen, etc. Egged our house, slashed Nick's tires. We first chalked it up to neighborhood pranksters, but when we started having damages that cost some decent money, we called the police. Not to mention one day when Bob was mowing the lawn, he noticed piles of cigarette butts outside the bedroom window. The police came out, pretty much did nothing but take a report, and told us perhaps to invest in car alarms and some brighter floodlights for the driveway. A few weeks after this, at 2:30 in the morning, I get a call in my cell. It was the police in a neighboring town. They had picked up someone who had my ID on him, someone named Craig J. When they asked why he had someone else's ID on him, he claimed I was his girlfriend. The cop called me because my name had popped that I'd filed a police report for theft. I assured the cops I'd never heard of him before, and was told that I could pick up my ID at the police station within the next few days. Things really started to escalate at that point, but I still didn't make the connection that perhaps these incidents were related. I started getting strange messages on MySpace, this was in 2009, as well as on Facebook, from clearly fake accounts, with long-winded messages that made no sense. This person started messaging friends of mine as well. I deleted MySpace and blocked the person on Facebook, but new accounts kept getting created. Somehow this person got my email address and started sending emails as well. I had no idea who this person could be, but they seemed to know details about me that indicated that this was either someone I knew, or knew someone I knew. The messages weren't overly threatening, but creepy enough to where I started becoming uncomfortable. One night, my friend Lauren and I were sitting on the couch watching TV. Bob, Lauren's husband, and a few other friends had gone out for the night. As we're sitting around chilling, we hear something that goes like someone shaking the garage door. It was an attached garage. I go and check the garage. Nothing seems out of the ordinary. We had occasional issues with raccoons, so I chalked it up to that. But the noise keeps continuing. Lauren and I are getting freaked out at this point. Now understand the layout of the house. It was a modern ranch-style house, with no upstairs. The garage sounds moved now to the kitchen window. A distinct sound of someone knocking or scratching hard on the windows. We call our husbands, who did not answer. At this point, we debate calling the police. What if it's an animal? Or tree branches? We don't want to seem stupid. As we debate, I see Lauren's face go sheet white and look past me. I spin around, and I can see the locked, fortunately, handle to the front door wiggling. We were seated near the kitchen. We jump up. Lauren grabs a knife from the butcher block on the counter. I grab a small hammer from the junk drawer. We book it to the back of the house where the bedrooms are, cell phone in hand, and lock ourselves in one of the bedrooms and call the police. The dispatcher tells us to stay on the line, move furniture in front of the door if possible, and the police are on their way. We shove a dresser in front of the door, knife and hammer in hand. We agreed if this fucker was going to come in, he might be bigger or stronger than us, but we're not going down without a fight. We plan. If he gets in before the cops, I go for the head with the hammer, and she goes for the gut with the knife. Cops show up, banging on the front door, shouting, "Police!" We can see the red and blue lights through the window. We leave the room, let the cops in. They find no signs of anyone present or evidence of an attempted break-in. They take a report. In the meanwhile, our husbands finally call us back. They come home, and the cops leave. Flash forward a few months. A very close friend of ours, Sean, was renovating his apartment and needed a place to crash along with his girlfriend. Bob and I decided he could stay in the third bedroom of our house. The first night Sean stays with us, we are awakened at 2 a.m. by Sean screaming at someone. Bob and I jump out of bed and rush into the hall and to Sean's room. Sean and his girl are wide awake, lights on, looking totally freaked out. The screen is sliced and flopping in the wind. Sean told us he woke up to someone using what he thought was a knife on the screen and started climbing in through the window. We call the cops. They come out and take a statement. Sean describes the guy as best he could, a white male, young-looking, semi-shaved head with what looked like darker hair. Cops dust for fingerprints. Comes back a match for Craig J. Turns out I knew who he was. Vaguely. He was a year younger than me and we had gone to the same high school. But I couldn't remember having any significant interactions with him. He lived with his parents only a few blocks away from my parents' house. I ended up reaching out to high school acquaintances who knew him, and they remembered him as a nice but odd kid, kind of quiet but definitely on the strange side, who had dropped out of high school before graduation. Upon realizing that Sean had just moved in, the cop makes a statement that chilled us all. He probably didn't realize anyone was staying in this bedroom, and thought the room would be empty. Cops go there, arrest him. He suddenly has quite the story for them. Him and I were secret lovers. I was ignoring him. We had a relationship. He also had been allowed into my home many times. I am floored. He gets charged with something like trespassing or breaking and entering, and does light time for it. Maybe a month, and has to pay a fine. In the meanwhile, I get a restraining order on him. He gets out, and I hear nothing from him. I also develop a completely irrational fear of first-floor windows. Around Christmas 2010, I am 23 now. I figure the whole Craig thing is in the past. Bob and I decide to divorce, unrelated to this, and go our separate ways, and Nick has long since moved out. We end the lease. I move to a less desirable suburb, but with affordable rent. I settle on an apartment in a 4-unit building that had a locked entrance, and the only way in was with a key or with someone opening the door from the inside. I lived on the 2nd floor. By this time I had graduated and was now a nurse, and was working now at a nursing home. Spring to summer of 2011. It started up again, with calls coming through to me at work only to have someone hang up. Letters suddenly appeared in the staff-only mailbox, mailed to me with no return address. The strange calls started up again from random accounts. The messages were never overtly threatening, but they were long, way too frequent, way too out there. He spoke to me as if we were long-lost friends and had some sort of connection. I don't think he ever threatened to hurt me, although the cutting into the house with a knife? I don't know what was going through his mind. What I kind of seemed to piece together over the years from all his rambling is that he had some sort of crush on me when I was younger, although I never remember even speaking to him during high school, and him happening to rob my car was some sort of sign from the universe, or something that we were meant to be together. I call the cops. They basically tell me that because there have been no threats, and other than an OOP or a cease and desist, there's not much they can do except watch and wait. This goes on for a while, and finally one night I wake up at 2 a.m. to a doorbell ringing. I'm instantly in panic. I look out the window. There, illuminated in the floodlight, is Craig. I burst out crying. In my half-awake state, I run across the hall and start banging on my neighbor's door. He was an older divorced guy who lived alone. He goes downstairs, confronts Craig, and tells him the cops have been called. And I actually call the cops. He takes off. I file a report. They claim they will talk to him. But this only makes things worse. Friends I have on Facebook now start getting random messages from Craig, asking about me, telling them he has important information for me. Other times, he alternates saying that I owe him money and I have a debt I need to pay off. My friends block him as he goes along. Meanwhile, my younger sister is living in the city with a few friends. He somehow finds out where, and drives to her apartment and confronts her while she has people over. She freaks out, and they kick him out. She calls the cops, who basically again state that he didn't commit a crime but offer her a restraining order. Right after this, another incident. My younger cousin is a high school senior on the cross-country team. He shows up at my cousin's practice. Cousin has no clue who he is. He starts demanding information on me. Coach gets involved. Craig gets in a fight with the coach. The cops are called. He's banned from school grounds, but nothing more. He calls the nursing home administrator at my job, asking him to talk to me and that he has important information to tell me. The administrator, my work, was now aware of the situation, tells him not to come onto the property or he will have him arrested for trespassing. Then, just as quickly as it started, it faded off. It's now summer of 2012, and the final caper in this saga. I'm almost 25 now. A friend of mine named Stacy, and incidentally Sean's ex, moved in with me temporarily while she looked for a place. She was dating a new guy and spent quite a few nights at his place. One day I picked up a double shift, starting at 7 a.m. and ending at 11:30 p.m. Stacy texts me around 3:30 p.m., stating she won't be home that night and was going out with her guy. I arrive home at almost midnight. First thing I notice is that the door is unlocked. Uneasy, but thinking perhaps Stacy has just forgotten to lock it. I cautiously peer inside. I pan my gaze to the kitchen and living room. I can't shake the feeling that I'm unsettled. Something wasn't sitting right. Due to all of these incidents, I always made sure that 1 or 2 lights were on, even when we weren't home. I was still not even fully in the door when I noticed that I was staring into a pitch-black apartment, and immediately my brain went into full panic. And I'm glad it did. Realistically, Stacy could have forgotten to leave a light on, but my instincts were in overdrive and sounding off 5 fire alarm bells. My Puerto Rican neighbor who lived in one of the building units was known for his weekend parties, and I could hear a party going on downstairs. I book it down the stairs and burst into the party and tell him what happened. He looks at me like I'm crazy, but agrees to come upstairs with me. We get inside, he looks around, we see nobody. I'm starting to wonder if I'm just nuts. Maybe Stacy had her boyfriend over, and they left in a hurry, forgetting to turn on the low lights and lock the door. He agrees with me and sort of jokingly pulls open a pantry door. What I saw next will never, ever leave my mind. There, crouched inside, is Craig. Puerto Rican neighbor puts the guy in a chokehold. I call the police. To this day, I have no idea what he planned on doing. Cops come out and he's arrested. Because my neighbor was having a party, he had the door open to the alleyway. Chances are he just walked into the building, and if anyone ever noticed, people would just assume he was there for the party or whatever. It's more confusing how he got into the apartment itself. My theory is my roommate at the time was from the country, while I lived in a suburb. It was the type of suburb right on the edge of a major US city, so we always locked our doors and generally kept everything secured as a rule. She was used to leaving her doors unlocked and wide open, and I think honestly, it may have just slipped her mind when she went out the door for the night. I confronted her about it, and she of course denied it. But that's really the only logical way he could have gotten in. I always locked both the knob lock and the deadbolt whenever I left the house. Unless he was a skilled locksmith, I have no idea how he could have gotten in. I didn't stay alone or go anywhere by myself for a long time after that. I felt that I actually developed a paranoia because of all this, and was highly suspicious of giving my number or any information out to anyone. He ended up being charged and convicted of aggravated stalking, breaking and entering, and some other charges. I did meet his parents in court, who were both, shockingly, very normal, apologetic people. They tried explaining their son. They claimed he was mentally ill and suffered from bipolar disorder. When he's medicated, he's okay. When he's off his meds, he's nuts. After he served time, I did not hear from him for years until 2016, when he found me on Facebook. I was much older now, around 29. I replied to him very firmly that any contact would end in the police being called, and that I had no interest in him at all. I blocked him in any way I could. Recently he found my new husband on Facebook and friended him. He blocked him as well. To this day I still have a paranoia. I had parked my car near a baseball diamond once, and some kids most likely hit a baseball into my windshield and took off, because I had a perfectly baseball-sized spider crack on the glass. Despite it being completely logical that it most likely was a ball, I instantly reverted to, oh God, is he back? I have no idea what happened to him. I am also now a total psycho about keeping things locked. Twice my life got screwed up because doors weren't locked, my car door, and most likely my apartment door. I have an acquaintance monitor him on Facebook. His page is not private, and from what I've seen, he appears to go through periods where he is pretty inactive, and then episodes where he is rambling, overposting, oversharing, and acting generally deranged. I believe his parents were telling the truth when they stated when he's medicated he is okay. Part of me feels bad for him. I'm older now, and I've been a nurse now for almost 10 years, some of which time was spent in a psych speciality. The mind is a hell of a thing. Looking back though, those were some of the worst years of my adult life. He put me through a lot of anxiety and caused a lot of issues for me. I slept with my couch pushed against my apartment door for the next 2 years, before I moved out of there. I'm now married, but on nights when I'm home alone, I still find myself resisting the urge to stack furniture in front of the doors. One of the other fallouts from this situation, Craig either sold, lost, or gave away my social security card that had been in my purse. Someone tried to file for Medicaid benefits in Arizona using my name and social, as well as obtained a job using my social and failed to pay any taxes, leaving me with a surprise asset freeze by the IRS and a whole financial mess that needed to be untangled before they unfroze my accounts and paid me back the money they started to pull out of my paychecks for the back taxes I had nothing to do with. My credit got extremely messed up for years because of it, and to this day, I have a lock in my social security number and monitor my accounts like a hawk. Moral of the story: never leave your purse in the car. Always lock your doors. Edit. Wow, this took off. Thanks all of you for your helpful and kind responses. My inbox and the comments are flooded with a lot of similar questions, so let me answer them here. 1. A lot of you ask why I did not get a dog. I didn't because I live in an area where 95% of apartments, in any sort of decent neighborhood at least, don't allow animals over 25 pounds. Also, I was working a ton of hours, and when I wasn't working, being a young 20-something, I was out a lot. I didn't want to lock a poor animal up for 16 plus hours sometimes at a time, alone, for the sake of the dog and my neighbors. 2. I did, and do have a gun, along with an FOID card and a CC. I also had and have a taser and pepper spray, as well as vehicle and home security systems. 3. I'm not blaming the police for this. While some cops were downright unhelpful, others were great. Cops cannot enforce laws, however, that don't exist, and stalking laws in this country are very much in the grey. Half of the incidents I could not prove beyond reasonable doubt were actually him, so prosecution was not possible until he violated his restraining order. Without a doubt, it was him. Showing at my place, breaking into my house. 4. For anyone who is dealing with a stalker or strange occurrences, involve law enforcement. It infuriates me to see that people don't call the police or don't tell anyone until later on. No, call them. They may not be able to help right away, or you may feel stupid, but you need that paper trail. Over time, stalkers get desperate and stupid, and they will try something extreme. When they do, you need that evidence. You can save your own life or the life of someone else if they try it with another person. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to 3 True Scary Stories, episode 284. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. Just give a little reminder, the 300th video will be up in a few weeks. Let's see, 284, 2 a week. It could be a few months, actually, now that I think about it. So if you have any questions you want for the Q&A, I'm going to put on at the end of that video. By all means, you've got quite a while to get them in, so no rush, but you can leave them in the comments of any video, or you can put them on Twitter, you can email them to me. You could probably put them on Facebook as well, but I don't check that quite as much. Okay, and with that I'm going to head off for now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.